He's stalking me with a weapon. That's what the HOA. Karen screamed at 911, all because I was out there minding my own business fishing by the lake. Yeah, fishing. She called the cops on me, claimed I was threatening her, but here's the truth. I'd been baiting her for 5 days straight. While she thought she was winning some little power war, I was 3 steps ahead, recording every fake rule, every meltdown, every desperate move, just waiting for her to make the big mistake. And when those police cars rolled up, she had no clue she'd just triggered her own downfall. You ever see a bully step right into their own trap? Well, let me walk you through how I outsmarted a power-hungry Karen and in the end gave our whole community a fresh start. My name's Ethan Johnson. I'm 35, been fishing since I could hold a rod. And if there's one thing I know, it's that patience will always beat panic. After years stuck in a city apartment with an HOA that loved rules more than people, I promised myself a change. So when I found this little lakeside cabin in Clearwater Shores, surrounded by oaks that looked like something out of a painting, I knew I was home. The lake was supposed to be for everyone, and for a couple of days it actually felt like paradise, neighbors waving the water, sparkling, not a single rule-obsessed busybody in sight. But on day 3, while I'm lost in the rhythm of the water, I hear footsteps sharp businesslike coming straight at me. That's when I met Evelyn Sinclair, the self-declared queen of Clearwater Shores. She's got the look, perfect hair, $1,000 athleisure clipboard in hand, and the voice to match all sweet venom. "Excuse me," she says, irritation practically dripping from her lips. "Do you realize this is a private community area?" Now, I'd read all the guidelines, made sure fishing was allowed. So I tell her I pay my dues, just like everyone else. What's the problem? She waves her clipboard like it's a badge and tries to bluff me with talk of aesthetic integrity. But when I ask for an actual rule number, you'd have thought I'd asked her to solve quantum physics on the spot. She sputters about checking the guidelines and storms off her heels, hammering the dock. But something in her eyes says this isn't over. You ever deal with someone who can't stand not being the boss? Yeah, me too. I'd seen her kind before, and I wasn't about to let her run me off. The next morning, I decided to test just how far she'd go, call it scientific curiosity, or maybe just my stubborn streak. Instead of my usual green umbrella, I set up a bright red beach monstrosity so loud you could see it from space. Then I added a little smooth jazz on a speaker, just loud enough to be noticeable, but not so much to break any actual rules. You should have seen her face from across the lawn. She was practically vibrating with frustration. By day 4, I'm waving to her every time she peeks out her window. All, "Good morning, Mrs. Sinclair," like we're best friends. She's scowling so hard I start snapping a few photos. Nothing creepy, just proof for later if things go sideways. The more annoyed she got, the more creative I became. Orange bobbers, marking my fishing lines, folding table, and snacks out like I'm settling in for the season. I wasn't going anywhere, and she knew it. That's when the emails started passive-aggressive masterpieces about noise and community standards. Even though the neighbor's dog barks louder than my jazz playlist ever could, she coughed and sprayed air freshener in my direction, snapped photos of my setup from weird angles, and buttonholed every neighbor she could find. But here's the twist. Nobody really liked her crusade. Folks were more annoyed by her drama than by my fishing. Then came the showdown, day 6. Evelyn shows up with a folder thick as a phone book, waving it like she's prosecuting the case of the century. These are the official guidelines, she declares, but a quick peek tells me they're just random internet printouts, not a real bylaw in sight. When I politely ask for real sources, she turns red as a beet, then storms off muttering about calling in the HOA proper. Sure enough, 2 days later I get a call from Sarah Jenkins, the actual HOA rep. One of those rare people who's fair calm and just wants everyone to get along. She's polite but serious. "We've received complaints about your lake activities." Evelyn had filed the report of the decade wildlife disturbance, noise pollution, property values threatened by one guy fishing. It was laughable, but I could tell Sarah was taking it seriously. That's when I told her I'd been documenting everything, security cameras, phone footage, the whole 9 yards. You could practically hear her sit up straighter through the phone. "You've been recording all of this?" she asks. "Oh, you bet." At this point, the story takes a turn. Sarah goes from skeptical to supportive real fast as I walk her through what's really happening. Evelyn's turf war fake rules the whole performance. She asks if I'll present my evidence at the next board meeting, and I say absolutely. I want the truth out in the open, not buried in some backroom whisper campaign. But before that meeting can happen, Evelyn comes at me one last time. I'm fishing, minding my business, when she marches over and no warning lunges for my fishing rod. I step back. She loses her balance and goes down in a heap. Suddenly, she's on her feet screaming, "He pushed me! Assault! Someone call the police!" The neighbors come running, but instead of taking her side, old Mr. Roberts steps in retired, not one to tolerate nonsense. "Ma'am, we all saw what happened. He didn't touch you." She tries to whip up support, but all she gets are raised eyebrows and people quietly recording her on their phones. After the crowd breaks up, Mr. Roberts tells me, "You're handling this the right way. Don't let her bully you." Turns out I'm not her first target. She's been using her title to push people around for years, basketball, hoops, laundry on the line, you name it. Now folks are tired of it. At the HOA meeting, Evelyn puts on a show, claims I'm a menace, that my fishing is psychological warfare. I stay calm, plug in my laptop, and play the videos. The room goes silent as her lies unravel, especially the footage of her grabbing for my rod, falling, and immediately faking the assault. Then Sarah stands up and drops the real bomb, 8 previous complaints about Evelyn, none ever proved until now. Other neighbors start sharing their stories. Hoops removed code enforcement called dogs harassed. The picture's clear. Evelyn's been running a reign of terror for years. The board places her on probation, launches a full review, and for the first time since I moved in, I feel like maybe this place can really be home. Evelyn looks crushed, but I can see in her eyes she's not finished yet. 2 days later, the police show up while I'm fishing, sirens, uniforms, the whole deal. "We received a report about a weapon," the officer says. "Have you been threatening anyone?" Before I can answer, Evelyn comes running, putting on her Oscar performance about how I'm a dangerous stalker with a weapon, my fishing rod. The officers look at each other. Then one shakes his head. "Not again," he mutters. Turns out Evelyn's called in so many bogus emergencies, they're on a first-name basis. When she points at my fishing rod as the weapon, one of the cops actually laughs. "Ma'am, this is a fishing rod used for fishing in a lake." She gets a stern warning for false reports, and they ask to see my footage. When I show them the videos, their attitude shifts, professional but friendly. "Thanks for being smart enough to record everything one tells me." People like this count on there being no proof. That was the last straw for Evelyn. Within 3 weeks, the board removes her as HOA president, sets up new guidelines to prevent abuse, and encourages everyone to report bad behavior without fear. The neighborhood changes overnight. The basketball hoop goes back up. Folks hang their laundry out to dry, and the dog finally gets to bark in peace. Even better, the lakefront gets officially designated as a fishing area for everyone. Mr. Roberts even gives me his late dad's antique tackle box as a thank you. Kids start joining me for fishing lessons. Parents come down to watch, and the old tight-lipped tension in Clearwater Shores melts away. Sarah stops by to thank me for standing up to the abuse and bringing real evidence. "We should have done something years ago," she admits, and I can tell she means it. As for Evelyn, she keeps to herself. Now quiet, embarrassed, no more drama. Maybe she learned something, maybe not, but the spell is broken. And me. Most mornings I'm out under the big oak, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise turn the lake to gold, grateful. I stood my ground. If you're dealing with someone abusing their power, remember, keep calm, document everything, and trust that the truth has a way of rising just like the sun. So what do you think? Was I right to fight back, or should I have just found a new spot to fish? Ever dealt with a bully like Evelyn? Drop your wildest HOA story in the comments, and let's talk about what real justice looks like in our neighborhoods.